please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Slapped out and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so the NHL playoffs are over and the off-season is in full swing now, and with it being the off-season, I thought it would be a good time to bring back some of the video series that I normally do but did not have time to do, obviously during the playoffs when I was streaming almost every day and things were really, really busy. And one of those series obviously is NHL Remember Him, where I look back on kind of forgotten players from the NHL that were actually kind of pretty good, but are often forgotten because they weren't superstar players. Obviously, no one forgets the superstars, but they still had really, really solid NHL careers. And they're the kind of guys that you don't really think of when you think of the NHL, but then you hear the name and you go, oh yeah, I remember him. He played for this team and this team, and it all starts to come back to you. So for this episode of NHL Remember Him, our first episode back in quite some time, I want to talk about Geoff Sanderson, because Geoff Sanderson's son, Jake, was just drafted in the 2020 NHL Draft 5th overall. He's a defenseman and is going to the Ottawa Senators. But Jake Sanderson is certainly not the first Sanderson to be a NHL player or even a high NHL draft pick, as Geoff Sanderson was a left winger who played in the 1990s and into the 2000s in the NHL. He was originally drafted in the second round, 36 overall in 1990 by the Hartford Whalers. He went on to play 1,104 career games in the NHL, scoring 355 goals, 345 assists for 700 career points, and a -100 rating. He was on a lot of bad teams throughout his career, but 700 career points over 1,100 career games played. A very, very solid NHL career for Geoff Sanderson. On top of that, in the playoffs, he played 55 playoff games, scoring 9 goals and 10 assists for 19 points and a +3 rating. Obviously, he played over 1,100 games in the regular season. He only played 55 career playoff games. That shows you that he was not on great teams a lot of times throughout his career. But nonetheless, a very, very good career for Sanderson individually, and definitely kind of a forgotten guy from the early 2000s and 90s as well. So he played for the Hartford Whalers, the team that drafted him, from 1990 all the way through 1997. And then in the 1997-98 season, Hartford moved to Carolina, and he split that year between 3 different teams, playing for Carolina, Vancouver, and Buffalo in 1997-98. He stayed with the Buffalo Sabres from 1998 all the way through 2000, and played with Buffalo for a few years. Then he went to the Columbus Blue Jackets from 2000 through 2003. And then in 2003-2004, he split that season between the Blue Jackets and the Vancouver Canucks. Then we had the NHL lockout in 2004-2005. There was no season. And when the league came back in 2005-2006, he split that season between, once again, the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Phoenix Coyotes. His career was starting to wind down at this point and come to an end. Obviously, he had been in the league for over 15 years at that point. And for 2006-2007, he went to the Philadelphia Flyers and spent a year there. And then he finished up his career in 2007-2008 with the Edmonton Oilers. So Sanderson ended up playing quite a long time in the NHL, about 17 years. And obviously had a very long and good career, putting up over 1,100 games played and 700 career points. Obviously, he played a lot for Columbus, who was never really a good team during that time frame. The 2007 Flyers were not very good. Edmonton wasn't very good. So he did spend a lot of time in his career on not very good teams, but he himself was a very, very solid player. and I think his career numbers show that. And he was a solid, middle of the lineup type forward for many seasons in the NHL. I remember him towards the end of his career. I really can't say I remember him much from the early 2000s. I really remember him for that 1 year in Philadelphia in 06-07, and then I remember him being in Edmonton for 07-08. But that's really all I personally remember of Geoff Sanderson. Some of you watching are probably too young to even remember him at all. But it turns out, when you go back and you start looking at the numbers and you do a little research for doing a video like this, you realize that he actually had a very, very solid NHL career. So that is NHL Remember Him for Geoff Sanderson. His son Jake was just picked 5th overall in the NHL draft to the Ottawa Senators, and will be playing with the Senators, probably not this coming season, but in the future certainly appears to be a potential star defenseman for the Ottawa Senators. So that does it for this episode of NHL Remember Him. If you want to check out more of these, I've done a lot of different players so far. They're all in a playlist on my channel, so definitely feel free to check those out. I think I've done 30-something episodes of this now, and I'm gonna keep doing them. There's plenty of players to talk about, so definitely check those other ones out as well if you're interested. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, our donation link, Patreon, and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.